Welcome to Conquest Chapter 10, which I consider to be nothing less than a miracle of map design. If you know, you know. This is a different attempt to the one I showed in the last part. To quickly compare the teams, almost everyone is a slight experience lead thanks to me spawning the reinforcements in Chapter 9, though Jacob's actually down a level. That distinction will be very important. Corrin's Bane was changed from res to luck, trading 2 luck for 1 speed and 1 res. Note that her growths are fixed apart from how her boon and bane affect them. In a similar vein, Jacob's upcoming level will give him HP, skill, speed, and defense. Silas is down 1 res and significantly strength screwed, but has better skill, speed, luck, and a massive lead in defense. Elise is 1 point slower, but better across the board otherwise with a ton more axe rank to boot. Effie and Arthur both have more strength than their counterparts from the first run, but are otherwise slightly worse on all fronts. Odin, in exchange for a tiny bit less HP, is ahead in nearly every other stat and tied in the rest. Niles is a tiny bit faster and is more magic, but otherwise is strictly worse than my first one. Finally, by getting Silas to level 10 in Chapter 9 to unlock Shelter, I was able to funnel even more experience into Mozu than it did last time. She was often able to get 4 hits on each of the opposing Faceless, ultimately resulting in her hitting level 8 by the time her paralogue was over. That, combined with similar results in Invasion 1, allowed her to reach level 10 for Quick Draw. She might technically be 1 strength below average and does have worse luck than her predecessor, but her other stats are simply monstrous. Compared to her averages, she's up by 1 HP, 1 skill, 1 speed, 1 res, and 2 defense. When it came to planning this map, I had to strike a balance between reliability here and long-term goals. Reliability means finding ways to simplify the map. Since I want as many units as possible in the central 2 lanes, that in turn meant finding ways to handle the wings with as few slots as possible. I had a perfect solution to the left lane from the beginning, which I'll be showing, but that left the question of the right lane. Zoran often solos that side with this map's reinforcements, but I desperately want their leader at the front lines as soon as possible. A streamer whose attempts at this very challenge I've been watching uses General Effie to handle it, but I want Effie to be a long-term member of the team. Anyone I early promote here loses any potential spots they could have in a late-game team, with the exception of Malignite Elise and, of course, Corrin. Besides, my support routing for Effie is so tight that she can't afford to be anywhere but the central lanes anyway. Speaking of support gains, Arthur's here over Haitaka just to be a backpack, and a Master Zeal that I just bought gives him a serious upgrade in that regard by facilitating his promotion into Berserker. It should be obvious by now who he's marrying, and I want to pass Rally Strength to both his kids, one of which I plan to recruit soon after he gets married. Early promotion is the best and only way to do that. I'm really sorry, Vex, but I need to hoard these Goddess Icons until I unexpectedly have to replace my mage. What? Who said that? Despite Arthur's new power boost, none of my units are currently good enough at fighting archers to handle the right lane. That's about to change, since it's time to give Unhappy Reunion the old Barclay Stockett. Oh, and you'd better believe I'm not playing Dark Waste for this. This chapter deserves a lot more. Turn 1 is spent moving everybody into place, though I make a severe misplay that ends up costing me dearly. That misplay is not Elise flying Odin over the water to fight the Western Oni. As a side note, Elise won't become a Malignite just yet. Wyvern Rider's backpack is better for Odin's purposes here than Malignite's, and I'd like to wait a bit longer before Elise promotes. Silas visits the first of 4 houses. Niles ferries Corrin over to fight the Eastern Oni. Finally, with help from Azura and Mozu, Jacob and Arthur break down the door and position themselves to fight the first wave coming from the southwest. I forgot that Jacob wasn't level 12 yet and thus could not double the ninjas. Yeah, this branch of Fate's Jacob is quite speed blessed, and getting Berserker backpacked on top of it. This helps to offset the fact that he hasn't gained a single point of strength or magic since Chapter 6. I said earlier that none of the units I brought could handle the archers. This changes now, as Silas is my second unit to early promote into Great Knight. Paladin's better movement speed and res are all useless here, and Silas won't be doing much more combat after this. With the power of friendship and this gun he found though, he's almost ready to start pushing the Hoshiitans back. Odin and Elise finish off their first opposition. They'll chill out here for now. I found out the hard way that they really can't afford to bait any enemies approaching from Pianata's Pier. Corin continues to plug the southeast hole. After some deliberation about what to do with my 3 remaining actions, I decide to pull back. Effie blocks the southwest hole, Azura gets out of the way, and Jacob heals up Corin. It's time for the cavalry to arrive. And here she is. To summarize my plans for these new arrivals, this Corin rolled Baruka as her wife. Despite this, I'll be pairing her with Silas for this map. She's the best backpack that can reach him right now, and he needs all the stats she specifically can give him. The Lovebirds will have time to bond later. Selena, unfortunately, will be benched immediately after this chapter. She's got decent prospects as a Bow Knight in the short term and as a Wyvern Rider in the long term, but both of the Wise to Give Her Wyvern are spoken for, and I found out the hard way that deployment slots are pretty competitive throughout literally the entire game. I can't train her support partner, and every other pairing I want to deploy all at once. It's a shame, but at least she'll make a decent exit as the best backpack available for the star of the show. Let me introduce you to the best combat unit in Conquest. She's rolling up as the bulkiest unit I have besides my Defense Blessed and early promoted Great Knight Silas, while simultaneously being both the strongest and fastest, easily surpassing Arthur and Niles respectively. Oh, and she's got better res than anybody else. She's an 8-movement Malignite that can fly around supporting my team with her massive damage from dual strikes alongside her personal skill powering up the primary hit. Nobody besides Corrin can claim to have better dual strikes. She's at the soft EXP cap for this map and won't start gaining any real experience until 3 chapters from now, but the fact that a promoted unit hits that mark on a map with an internal level of 14 should say something. Camilla's internal level is 16, meaning she'll gain levels and thus both stats and skills faster than anyone else barring my Silas and Arthur, both of whom are well behind her statistically. Camilla's stats are typical for an average level 20 promotion. Malignite isn't quite her best class in terms of swinging axes, but her stats are so insane that she really doesn't have to reclass until she gets trampled. Despite her stats suiting pretty much any class well, that'll be my plan for her. In terms of what she can get via supports, the best class available to me is definitely made from her Elise friendship that remains in Gay Fates. And that lets her even marry Selena, Baruka, or Charlotte for Soul to become this game's actual best Soul Dagger wielder and trivializing the game up to the final 2 maps. However, she wants to enter Maid as soon as possible, necessitating a delay of Paralog and Invasion 1 until after this map that I'm not willing to do, and Maid Camilla isn't a good content move anyway. Mozu might actually be her best wife to grant her Kinchi Knight and Quick Draw, but I wouldn't subject Mozu to that even if the girl wasn't spoken for. Speaking of Mozu though, she's the main drive behind what I plan to do with Camilla. Basically, every Conquest Iron Man I see ends with Mozu as the final boss killer. It's an incredible 0 to hero story with the 29 damage Mozu can get from skills allowing her to reach the 77 attack needed, without much support within the final map itself. However, I think that's a bit too played out. I'll certainly complete that Mozu build as a backup plan, and in fact my plans for certain other characters are made with it in mind, but I want Camilla to kill the final boss. That narrows down her choice of partner seal class to 1, Fighter. With Baruka unavailable, that means Camilla's only got one girl in her mind besides Corrin, and we'll be seeing her in a few maps. Until then, I'm going to intentionally misuse Camilla in this map. In future chapters, I'll be using her talents sparingly to help me out of jams and to help train the rest of my team, but for a map on as much of a razor's edge as Chapter 10, I'll let her run loose. Enjoy the show, it'll be the last time you see her quite this unrestrained for a while. While I've been yapping, Jacob and Camilla have cleaned up a few enemies, and Odin and Elise have started clearing the way to the village they skipped on the way to the pier. Mozu finishes off a ninja and gets C-rank bows for her troubles. Corrin just waits. Silas takes out the second archer and gets ready for the incoming spear fighters. Mozu and Camilla each take out an enemy in the southeast, and about now is when I realize the mistake I made on turn 1. One that I'm sure some of you have been screaming at the monitor about. Jacob didn't pick up the dual club. To rectify this mistake, I tasked Jacob with handling the next wave of blue enemies headed toward that house. Niles, meanwhile, takes a break from his backpacking duties to shoot down a Sky Knight and get a level up out of it. Azura lets Corrin resume her position at the choke point, while Elise frees Odin up to grab some change to end the turn. The spear fighters ignored Silas, so I decide to improvise and switch Baruka to the front. She chips one of them, intending to finish him off on enemy phase. Jacob and Camilla switch places. Camilla prepares to grab the dual club while Jacob sets up to take on the southeastern enemies. Corrin joins him, while Mozu prepares to intercept the Sky Knights currently flying across the water. Odin simply waits. He'll have more foes soon enough. Aw, come on, Baruka. First things first. I know from past experience that I cannot let Odin get lunched. There's only one Oni Savage with lunch, so that's his preferred target. Hey Odin, what's Arthur's average hit rate? The right-hand Sky Knight can't reach the seize point this turn, and Mozu can't double the Spear Fighters, so her targets are clear for this turn. She shoots down one flyer, then with Azura's Inspiring Song she's now fast enough to double and take out the Spear Fighter. Inspiring Song is a pretty broken skill, and one reason why I gave a qualifier to Camilla's status. Silas's gun is, ironically, the most accurate shot I've got at taking out the remaining Spear Fighter on this pier, and you'd best believe I'm not throwing it away. Jacob's gotten a lot of value out of Live to Serve on this map. Camilla lunges a ninja, arriving at her destination, ending the turn. Starting the real fight. My defensive line just got torn to shreds and Takami's retainers are finally aggressive. It's time to lock in. Odin starts the party by taking out yet another Oni Savage. Mozu, in turn, shoots down yet another Sky Knight in striking distance of the seize point. After some thought on what to do with Silas, I decide to stand on the ballista with a javelin equipped, denying it to the opposing archers. Camilla picks up the dual club. She won't use it on this map, there's exactly one red enemy and he's headed elsewhere, but it's not something I want to miss by a long shot. My forces are unfortunately spread out far enough that Camilla won't ever be relieved of her guard duties on the front lines, and so won't be able to grab the Draco Shield. Given my hoarding problem, though, it was never as important as the dual club. Everyone else just sets up for the next few turns, with Niles even getting another kill. I think it's funny how he's got worse hit rates than Mozu despite having the more accurate bow. This Mozu skill is just off the charts. Odin's stuck, so he takes out the Oni next to him and gets this as his reward. Silas misses this archer for the second time today, but it's not a problem yet. He's still blocking the ballista. Everyone else just sets up for later. Camilla can't normally double Oboro when weighed down by the steel axe she joins with. I called Selena her best backpack on this map, and this is why. On a normal one, it even gets Selena a quarter of the way to Wyvern Rider. Odin's still stuck, and he'll be stuck there for a while, so it's time for him to take another kill. This time, a slightly unreliable one against Hinata. It'd be fine if he missed once, though. This Odin's blessed in basically every important stat and could have gone 2 more rounds with Hinata. There's a massive group of enemies coming through the southeast breach, and it's Camilla's job to hold them off for now. Silas helps out by taking out the second archer of the group he's been fighting, and Camilla takes out the third to plug the hole. One last time, Odin takes out the enemy due south of him. This time it's the ninja who's been harassing him the last couple of turns. Silas once again takes his shot at the lance wielder, and once again he doesn't miss. He'll want a vulnerary for the next turn, so Selena gives hers to him. Camilla just takes a swing at an Oni. Niles is the one to finish off the Sky Knight in the back. Jacob takes out both Sky Knights with Azura's help, and Mozu ends the turn off by one-routing an Oni Savage of her own. Quick Draw is one hell of a skill. Alright, final turn. There are 2 enemies in striking distance. Beyond them, the goal is survival. Once Mozu and Jacob have mopped up the Sky Knights, almost everyone else simply backs up. This includes Camilla, as trying to hold the choke point herself would put her in range of the archers. Silas, on the other hand, has no issues taking all the hits he needs to the point where I'd call this vulnerary use a waste. Better safe than sorry, though. And that, my friends, is what I'd call the old Barclay Stockett. Some less intense maps are next. Until then, bye guys.